Maybe sitting here penniless will finally teach you some respect.
Nathan, don't leave me here!
When my chauffeur arrives, tell him you're my granddaughter.
Your granddaughter?
Exactly who he just humiliated.
My husband smiled as he took my wallet, locked my phone inside his car, and left me at a bus stop on the far side of the city. Maybe being helpless for a few hours will teach you what money is worth, he said before driving away. 3 hours later, a blind elderly woman sitting beside me reached for my hand and whispered, "When my driver arrives, tell him you're my granddaughter. And whatever you do, don't call your husband yet. By tomorrow, he may be the one begging for a ride home." Hello. My name is Claire Monroe, and until that afternoon, I thought the worst thing my husband could do is make me feel small. I was wrong. The worst thing he could do was finally make me see him clearly. I had been married to Nathan Cole for 6 years. When we first met, Nathan was charming in a way that made everyone in the room notice him. He remembered birthdays. He sent flowers for no reason. He told my mother that he would always take care of me. Back then, I had a full-time job in payroll for a medical supply company. I liked my work. I liked being independent. I paid my own rent, had my own savings, and never asked anyone for money. 2 years into our marriage, Nathan received a promotion at Stonebridge Development, one of the largest property development firms in our city. His new job required travel, late dinners, and constant networking. He told me our marriage would be easier if I reduced my hours. "At least one of us should have time to manage the house," he said. "You don't need to exhaust yourself. I make enough for both of us." At first, it sounded generous, so I went part-time. Then Nathan suggested combining our bank accounts because married people should not keep secrets. Then he started checking every purchase. Then he changed the online banking password and told me it was safer if he handled the bills. Then one day, I realized I had gone from being a woman with her own paycheck and savings account to a woman who felt nervous buying shampoo without explaining it. The changes were so slow that I barely noticed them while they were happening. That Tuesday morning, Nathan was already angry before breakfast. I was standing in the kitchen making coffee when he walked in holding a receipt. "What is this?" he asked. I looked at it. It was from a pharmacy. "Medicine for my mother," I said. Her insurance didn't cover all of the prescription, so I paid the difference. The amount was $68. Nathan stared at me like I had bought a diamond necklace. "You spent almost $70 without asking me." "She needed the medication." "That isn't the point." I took a slow breath. "Nathan, my paycheck went into our account on Friday. I earned more than $70. His expression changed immediately. He hated when I said things like that. "Our account." He corrected. "Not your account." "I know." "Then act like it." He dropped the receipt on the counter. I remember staring at that little piece of paper and feeling embarrassed, even though I had done nothing wrong. That feeling had become normal in our marriage. Nathan stepped closer. "You have no discipline with money." "That isn't true. You always say that." "I bought medicine for my mother. And last week you bought groceries." I almost laughed because I thought he had to be joking. "People need groceries, Nathan. Don't be sarcastic with me." "I'm not being sarcastic. I'm trying to understand why you're angry." He stared at me for several seconds. Then, strangely, he smiled. It was not a kind smile. "Get your coat," he said. "Why?" "We're going for a drive. I have work at noon." "I already called your supervisor and said you'd be late." My stomach tightened. "You called my supervisor?" "I'm your husband. Stop making everything dramatic." I should have refused to get into the car. I know that now, but 6 years of being told that I was too emotional, too sensitive, too difficult, and too irresponsible had trained me to doubt my first instinct. So I put on my coat and followed him outside. For the first 15 minutes, neither of us spoke. Then I noticed we were leaving the part of the city I knew. "Nathan, where are we going?" He kept driving. "Somewhere you can learn something." What does that mean? You'll see. The office towers disappeared behind us. The streets became wider and emptier. We passed warehouses, repair shops, fenced storage yards, and blocks I had never visited before. Finally, Nathan pulled over beside an old bus shelter near an industrial district. There was a bench, a faded route map, and not much else. He put the car in park. "Get out." I stared at him. "What? Get out of the car." "Nathan, stop. I'm serious." "So am I." "Take me home." He reached across me and grabbed my purse before I could react. "Nathan." He opened it and removed my wallet. Then he held out his hand. "Phone."
No.
"Claire?" "No. This is insane." He reached into the pocket of my coat and took it himself. I tried to grab it back, but he pulled away. "What are you doing?" I demanded. "Teaching you." He placed my phone and wallet inside the center console. "You keep acting like money appears by magic. Today you're going to figure out how to get home without mine." I felt cold all over. I have money in that wallet. Money from our account. My paycheck goes into that account. He gave me a look I will never forget. "Your little library paycheck wouldn't cover 1 month of our mortgage." I had left the medical supply company the year before and started working at a neighborhood library after Nathan convinced me the hours would be easier for his schedule. He used that smaller paycheck against me constantly. I opened the passenger door because suddenly I could not stand being next to him. Before I stepped out, I looked back. "You're really leaving me here?" He shrugged. "Maybe the humiliation will teach you a lesson." Then he added, "When you make it home, you can apologize." I stepped onto the sidewalk. Nathan locked the doors. For 1 second, I thought he would laugh, unlock them, and tell me the whole thing had been a cruel joke. Instead, he drove away. I watched his taillights disappear. Then I sat down on the bus bench because my knees were shaking too badly to stand. At first, I was furious. Then I was scared. Then I became embarrassed. That was the part I hate admitting. I kept imagining what Nathan would say later. "See, you survived. You always exaggerate." I even wondered whether I really was overreacting. That is what happens when someone spends years teaching you not to trust yourself. A bus came 20 minutes later. I asked the driver if I could ride and pay when I reached downtown. He apologized and said he could not allow it. The next bus did not stop because I was sitting too far from the sign. Another hour passed. The afternoon grew colder. I considered walking, but I had no idea which direction would take me home. Then I heard a soft tapping sound. Tap, pause, tap, pause. A woman was approaching with a white cane. She looked to be in her late 70s. Her silver hair was pinned neatly behind her head. She wore dark glasses, a camel-colored coat, and black gloves. She reached the shelter and touched the edge of the bench with her cane. "Is this seat taken?" she asked. "No," I said quickly. "Please?" She sat beside me. For a minute, neither of us spoke. Then she said, "You've been crying." I wiped my face. "I'm fine," she smiled. Young people still say that as badly as they did 50 years ago. Despite everything, I almost laughed. "I'm sorry. Don't apologize. Just don't lie to an old woman with excellent hearing." That made me laugh for real, although it came out mixed with a sob. She turned slightly toward me. "My name is Eleanor Vale. I'm Claire. Well, Claire, would you like to tell me why you are sitting at a bus stop in this part of town without a coat warm enough for the weather?" I hesitated. Then everything came out: the pharmacy receipt, the bank account, the constant criticism, the drive, my wallet, my phone, the words Nathan had used before leaving me behind. Eleanor did not interrupt once. When I finished, she was quiet for several seconds. Then she asked one question. "Do you want to go back to him tonight?" I opened my mouth. Nothing came out. That frightened me more than the question itself, because until that moment I had assumed I would go home. I would apologize. I would try harder. That was the pattern. But when Eleanor asked what I wanted, I realized I had not asked myself that question in years. "I don't know," I whispered. "That is an acceptable answer." She reached across the bench until her gloved hand found mine. Then she leaned closer. "I'm going to ask you to do something strange." I looked at her. What? My chauffeur will be here shortly. When he arrives, tell him you're my granddaughter. I actually pulled my hand back. You're what? My granddaughter. I can't lie to your driver. Oh, he'll survive. Why would I say that? Her smile changed. It became almost playful. Because I suspect the man who left you here believes money is power. Men like that become very confused when the person they tried to make powerless suddenly has access to more power than they do. I stared at her. Who are you? Before she could answer, a black sedan turned onto the street. It slowed beside us. A tall man in a navy suit stepped out and hurried toward Eleanor. Mrs. Vale, I'm sorry. The traffic downtown was terrible. It's fine, Daniel. Then Eleanor pointed in my general direction. This is my granddaughter, Claire. She's coming home with me. Daniel looked at me. His eyebrows lifted for half a second. Then he opened the rear door. Of course, Mrs. Vale. Nice to meet you. Miss Claire. I did not move. Eleanor held out her hand. Come on. I don't even know you. That is true. You could be dangerous. Also true. Although mostly to poorly managed corporations and men who mistake arrogance for intelligence. Daniel coughed to hide a laugh. Eleanor continued. You can ask my driver to take you to a police station, a hospital, your mother's house, or anywhere else you choose. You are not trapped. I am offering you options. That is the difference. That sentence decided it for me, options. Nathan had taken mine away. Eleanor was giving them back. I got into the car. As we drove north, I asked Daniel if I could borrow a phone. I called my mother first. I did not tell her everything, because she was still recovering from a procedure, and I did not want to frighten her. I only told her I was safe and staying with someone trustworthy. Then I called the library and explained that I had a family emergency. I did not call Nathan. That was Eleanor's suggestion. Give yourself one night without his voice in your ear, she said. You may be surprised by what you can hear when he is not talking. About 30 minutes later, Daniel drove through iron gates surrounding a stone mansion overlooking the river. I thought it was a hotel. Then the gates closed behind us. This is your house, I asked. One of them, Eleanor said casually. I turned toward her. One of them. Daniel smiled in the front seat. Eleanor sighed. I suppose we should get the dramatic part over with. Have you heard of Vale Holdings? Of course I had. Everyone in the city had. Vale Holdings owned hotels, office buildings, industrial parks, and half the new riverfront development downtown. The Vale Foundation had its name on a hospital wing, a public arts center, and several scholarship programs. I looked at Eleanor again. No. She laughed. Les. You're Eleanor Vale? That is what I said at the bus stop. You're the Eleanor Vale? I have always found that phrase ridiculous. I am not aware of a second one. I sat back in stunned silence. Then she added something that made my heart stop. And if I remember correctly, your husband works for Stonebridge Development. I turned sharply. How do you know that? You told me his name. Nathan Cole. I know the name because Stonebridge is currently trying to win the largest contract Vale Holdings has offered in 12 years. I stared at her. She continued calmly. A $180 million redevelopment project. Suddenly, I understood the little smile she had given me at the bus stop. Nathan is working on that bid, I said. I suspected he might be. He said it could make his career. Then he chose a remarkably poor week to abandon his wife. That night, Eleanor gave me a guest room and asked her housekeeper to bring me dinner. I thought I would sleep for 12 hours. Instead, I lay awake staring at the ceiling. At 11:30, Daniel knocked softly on the door. Mrs. Vale thought you might want this. He handed me a new prepaid phone. There are 3 missed calls on the house line from a man named Nathan Cole, he said. Mrs. Vale did not tell him you were here. My hands started shaking again. Did he sound worried? Daniel paused. Do you want the polite answer? Nimbo. He sounded angry. That hurt more than it should have. I turned on the phone. There was one number I knew by memory, Nathan's. I almost called. Instead, I opened a browser and signed into an old email account he had forgotten I still used. There were years of statements and account notifications forwarded there from when I managed our finances. I started reading. At first, I was looking for proof that I was not irresponsible. What I found was much worse. There were transfers I did not recognize. $2,000, $3,500, another $4,000, all going to an account labeled NC Consulting. I had never heard of NC Consulting. Then I found hotel charges in Chicago, Miami, and Denver on dates when Nathan told me he was traveling for work. Some had been reimbursed by his company. Others had been paid from our joint account. One reservation was for 2 adults. I felt sick. The next morning, Eleanor found me at the breakfast table surrounded by printed statements. "I assume you did not sleep," she said. "No." I slid one page toward her before remembering she could not see it. "Sorry. Describe it." So I did. When I finished, Eleanor called someone named Maya Brooks. Maya arrived less than an hour later. She was a family law attorney in her 40s with a calm voice and the kind of posture that made you sit straighter without knowing why. She listened to my story. Then she reviewed the statements. "Claire," she said, "do you know how much is currently in your joint savings account?" "About 60,000, I think." Maya looked at me. "It has less than 9,000. My mouth went dry. "What?" She turned the laptop toward me. Nathan had been moving money for almost 11 months. $47,000 was gone. Some had gone to NC Consulting. Some to credit card payments I had never seen. Some to cash withdrawals. Then Maya found something else. A home equity line of credit opened against our house. For $90,000. I had never signed for it. At least, I had never knowingly signed for it. Maya enlarged the electronic signature page. There was my name. Claire Monroe Cole. My stomach twisted. "I didn't sign that." Maya's face became serious. "Are you certain, Les?" She looked at Eleanor. Eleanor's expression did not change. But her voice did. "Then we are no longer discussing only a bad marriage." For the first time since the bus stop, I stopped feeling embarrassed. I started feeling angry. Maya advised me not to confront Nathan yet. She wanted time to preserve records, contact the lender, and make sure no more money disappeared. With my permission, she also brought in a forensic accountant. By late afternoon, we had another surprise. NC Consulting was registered to Nathan. Its mailing address was a private mailbox, and it had received payments from a subcontractor trying to work with Stonebridge Development. Maya looked at me. "Do you understand what this might mean?" I shook my head. "It could mean your husband has been receiving undisclosed outside payments connected to his job. We cannot conclude that yet, but it is enough to investigate." I thought of Nathan yelling over $68 of medicine. Meanwhile, he had moved tens of thousands of dollars behind my back. The hypocrisy was almost unbelievable. That evening, Nathan finally reached me through my mother. She called the new phone and said, "He's standing outside my house. He says he won't leave until he speaks to you." I told her to put him on speaker. His voice came through immediately. "Claire, where are you?" I said nothing for a moment. Then, "Somewhere safe." "What does that mean?" "It means I'm safe. You've been gone for 2 days. Do you have any idea what you're putting me through?" I almost laughed. "What I'm putting you through?" "I drove back to that bus stop 45 minutes later, and you were gone. That was new. You told me to find my own way home. I was angry. You took my wallet and phone, to make a point. You left me in an unfamiliar part of the city. I came back. After 45 minutes. Silence. Then his tone changed. The soft voice came back. The voice he used whenever anger stopped working. "Claire, baby, come home. We'll talk." I overreacted. You overreacted. We both made mistakes. There it was. We both made mistakes. I looked across the room at Eleanor. She could not see my face, but somehow she seemed to know exactly what I was thinking. I said, "My lawyer will contact you tomorrow." And Nathan went silent. Then he laughed. "Your lawyer?" "Les." "With what money?" I felt something inside me change. Not break, change. For the first time in years, his contempt did not make me feel small. It made him look small. You'll find out, I said. Then I hung up. The next morning, Maya filed the first legal paperwork to protect my financial interests. She also notified the bank that I disputed the home equity signature. But the biggest twist came that afternoon. Eleanor asked me to join her in the library. I need to tell you something before this goes any further, she said. I sat across from her. What? The final presentations for the Vale Riverfront project are Friday. My heart started beating faster. Stonebridge is presenting. Wes. And Nathan will be there. I am told he is leading part of their presentation. I stood up. No. I don't want you to cancel their contract because of me. There is no contract yet. Then reject their bid. I did not say I planned to reject it. I stared at her. Eleanor folded her hands. I built my company by learning the difference between revenge and accountability. Revenge is making someone suffer because they hurt you. Accountability is allowing their own decisions to become visible. What are you planning? Nothing illegal. Nothing dishonest. Nothing theatrical, she smiled. Although I admit I do enjoy timing. She explained that Vale Holdings had a strict ethics clause for partners on major projects. Senior Stonebridge executives would attend Friday's presentation, so would Vale's board and outside counsel. If Nathan had accepted undisclosed money from a subcontractor connected to the bid, it mattered to the project. Eleanor's legal team would investigate through proper channels. If the evidence is innocent, nothing happens, she said. If it is not, then Nathan will have created his own problem. And me. You will attend as my guest. I frowned. Your guest. My granddaughter. If you're still willing to play along. That part is still strange. Most good stories are. By Friday, the forensic accountant had traced $31,000 from the subcontractor to NC Consulting over 9 months. The payments were labeled as marketing advisory fees. And Nathan had never disclosed outside consulting work to Stonebridge. Worse? 2 payments arrived within days of internal Stonebridge meetings where that subcontractor was moved forward in the selection process. That did not automatically prove a crime, but it was enough for Stonebridge's legal department to take very seriously. Maya sent the information to the proper people that morning. I almost asked Eleanor to let me stay home. Instead, I put on a navy dress Margaret had helped me choose. Nothing extravagant. Nothing designed to make Nathan jealous. I did not want to look like a different woman. I wanted to look like myself again. Before we left, Eleanor stood near the front door with her cane in one hand. Ready, granddaughter? She asked. No. Excellent. Courage is more useful when fear comes along for the ride. We arrived at Vale Tower just before 2. The presentation room was on the 42nd floor. Glass walls overlooked the city. Executives sat around a long table. I recognized Stonebridge's CEO from business magazines. And then I saw Nathan. He was standing near a screen rehearsing his slides. He looked confident. Expensive suit. Perfect hair. Easy smile. The same man who had left me at a bus stop 4 days earlier looked as if nothing in the world could touch him. Then Eleanor entered with her hand resting on my arm. The room became quiet. Nathan turned. His face changed instantly. First confusion, then disbelief, then panic. Claire. Eleanor stopped. Oh, she said pleasantly. You two know each other? Nathan stared at me. What are you doing here? I answered calmly. I'm here with my grandmother. The room went silent. Eleanor smiled. Chosen granddaughter, she clarified. The family we choose deserves accurate paperwork eventually. A few people laughed politely. Nathan did not. His boss looked from him to me. Messes. Cole is your wife. Nathan swallowed. Yes? Eleanor tilted her head. How interesting. I met her at a bus stop on Tuesday. Nathan's jaw tightened. Claire, can we speak privately? No. Just one word. But it felt like reclaiming an entire language. Stonebridge's CEO cleared his throat and suggested they begin the presentation. Nathan tried to recover. For the first 10 minutes, he was polished. He talked about integrity, community trust, responsible partnerships, and transparent development. Every word sounded almost absurd to me. Then Eleanor raised her hand. Mr. Cole. Since you mentioned transparency, I have a question. Nathan stopped. Of course, Mrs. Vale. Do you operate a company called NC Consulting? His face went blank. I heard someone shift in a chair. Nathan looked at his boss. Then back at Eleanor. It's a small side business. Nothing related to Stonebridge. Eleanor nodded. Then I'm sure your legal department will easily explain why a subcontractor connected to this bid paid that company more than $30,000. The Stonebridge CEO turned toward Nathan so quickly his chair moved. What? Nathan's face lost its color. That's not what it sounds like. The CEO's voice became very quiet. What does it sound like? Nathan glanced at me. For half a second, I saw pure hatred in his eyes. Then he covered it with a smile. Claire is angry about a private marital disagreement. I think someone is using that to damage me professionally. There it was again. Make me the problem. Make me emotional. Make me unreliable. For 6 years, that strategy had worked. Not anymore. I spoke before anyone else could. I did not find the business payments. A forensic accountant did. I did not contact your employer first. My attorney handled the documentation, and I did not force you to accept those payments. Nathan's boss looked at him. Did you disclose NC Consulting to us? Nathan said nothing. That silence answered the question. Then Maya entered the room. She carried a slim folder. She did not make a speech. She simply handed copies of the relevant documents to Stonebridge's general counsel. The room changed. This was no longer a dramatic marriage argument. It was a corporate problem. The CEO asked for a recess. Nathan followed me into the hallway. Claire. I kept walking. He caught up. You planned this. I stopped and faced him. No, you planned this. Every transfer, every lie, every signature, every payment. His eyes narrowed. You have no idea what you're doing. I know exactly what I'm doing. You think that old woman cares about you. You're a project to her, a charity case. Before I could answer, Eleanor's voice came from behind us. For a man whose career is currently balancing on a toothpick, you remain remarkably committed to insulting the people holding the table. Nathan turned. Mrs. Vale, with respect, this is between my wife and me. No? Eleanor said. Your marriage is between you and Claire. Your undisclosed payments are between you and your employer. Your disputed loan documents are between you and the lender. Your behavior at a bus stop is between you and your conscience. She paused. Try not to confuse the categories. Nathan looked at me again. Come home tonight. We can fix this. I almost felt sorry for him. Not because I wanted him back, because he still believed home was a place where he could command me to return. I am home, I said. His face tightened. With her. With myself. That was the moment I knew the marriage was over. Not when he left me at the bus stop. Not when I found the missing money. Not when I discovered the loan. It ended when I realized I no longer needed him to agree that I had been mistreated. Stonebridge suspended Nathan before the end of the day pending an internal investigation. A week later, the company announced that he had been terminated for violating its conflict of interest and disclosure policies. The subcontractor was removed from consideration for the Vale project. Stonebridge remained eligible to compete after replacing the team involved because Eleanor refused to punish hundreds of innocent employees for one man's choices. I respected her even more for that. Nathan blamed me for everything. Of course he did. He sent messages through mutual friends saying I had destroyed his career. Maya told me not to respond. But one message made me laugh. He wrote, I hope humiliating me was worth it. I read it twice. Then I remembered the bus stop. The cold bench. My empty hands. His car disappearing around the corner. Humiliation will teach you a lesson. He had finally learned one. Just not the lesson he intended. The divorce took 7 months. The disputed home equity loan became part of a separate legal investigation. I will not pretend everything happened quickly or cleanly. There were meetings, documents, sleepless nights, and days when I wondered whether starting over at 30, before was terrifying or ridiculous. Sometimes both. But slowly, my life became mine again. I opened my own bank account. The first deposit was not large. I stared at the balance on my phone for nearly a minute, because seeing money under only my name felt strangely emotional. I returned to full-time work. Then Eleanor made me an offer I did not expect. The Vail Foundation was expanding a program that taught financial literacy and career skills to women rebuilding their lives after divorce, homelessness, or financial abuse. She wanted me to help run it. I'm not qualified, I told her. You worked in payroll for years. You understand household budgets. You understand what financial dependence feels like, and you know how people can be made to feel ashamed for asking basic questions. That doesn't make me an expert. No, she said, but it makes you useful. We can hire experts for the rest. I accepted. A year after Nathan left me at that bus stop, I stood in a classroom at the Vail Community Center speaking to 22 women. Some were young. Some were older than me. Some had expensive handbags. Some carried everything they owned in one backpack. Control does not always look the way people expect. I held up a simple worksheet. Your first goal, I told them, is not to become rich. Your first goal is to know what belongs to you, what you owe, what you earn, and what choices you have. From the back of the room, Eleanor smiled. She came to nearly every class. She still introduced me as her granddaughter. Eventually, I stopped correcting her. One afternoon after class, Daniel drove us home by the same industrial road where Eleanor and I had met. When the bus shelter appeared, I asked him to stop. I got out. The bench looked smaller than I remembered. For a moment, I could see the woman I had been sitting there a year earlier. Cold. Ashamed. Waiting for the man who hurt her to come back and decide what happened next. Eleanor stepped out with Daniel's help and stood beside me. You're quiet, she said. I was thinking about how close I came to going back and apologizing to him. That version of you was doing the best she could with the information she had. I looked at the road. Do you know what Nathan said before he drove away? Yes, you told me. He said humiliation would teach me a lesson. Eleanor smiled. And did it. I thought about the bank account in my name. My job. My mother, healthy again. The women in the classroom. The divorce papers stored in a drawer I rarely opened. And the extraordinary blind woman who had seen my situation more clearly than I had. Yes, I said. It taught me never to confuse control with love again. Eleanor squeezed my hand. Then I smiled. And Nathan learned something too. What was that? I looked at the empty road where his car had disappeared a year earlier. That when you abandon someone to make them feel powerless, you'd better be very sure they won't discover how powerful they are without you.